morning, everybody. And I don't know whether I'm delighted to be here or scared to be here, because when Donald asked me to do this about a month ago, I thought, I'm not an accessibility expert. I'm not a UI. Yeah. Sorry, I'm not a UI designer. So what do you want me to talk about? So he said, well, look, it's more about what you're doing in revenue and about setting a context for today. So hopefully I'll achieve that, and we'll explain a little bit about the journey we're on. So how do we do? Oh, moving on. I saw this statistic. It's from the last census, a CSO statistic, 1 in 5. And I thought that was very telling. So 1 in 5 of the population feel or say that they have some form of long-lasting disability. And I think that's a lot of people in our community, over 1 million people. And therefore it's not a small group of people. It's a very large cohort of society. And as public servants, we are public servants. We've got to serve the public. And here's a huge cohort of people. And do we serve them well? And that's debatable. And obviously it's growing. The last census in 2016, it was over 600,000. So it's gone up in the last few years, but the population has grown, so we would expect that. And it's probably going to continue to grow as the population grows. So accessibility for the 1 in 5, it's a legal imperative. And there's lots of legislation there, and there's probably more experts on the legislation in this room than I am, but the Disability Act, Equal Status Act, Officials Language Act is the Irish English thing, so we have to produce all of our websites in both languages. The EU Accessibility Directive, and then the public sector itself has equality and human rights duty. So there's lots of legal underpinnings here. And again, as public servants, we need to bear that in mind. This is part of our job, and we have to start accepting it as being a core part of our job, not an add-on. And I think in the past, maybe there's been too much of that, treating it as an add-on. Revenue itself, and we're the friendly tax man. Everybody here, I'm sure, is all up to date, and I'll be collecting your PPSNs at the door on the way out. We can check. But just to give you some view of revenue, we are one of the biggest IT operations in the country because we cannot collect tax and indeed customs without IT, and therefore IT is really important to us. Last year, these are headline results from our annual report. Last year we collected almost 128 billion euros. That's a lot of euros, okay? Including some money we collect for other departments. So, pretty much all of the country's income is coming through revenue systems. So our online presence and our B2B services are really, really important, not just to the running of revenue, but to the running of the economy. So we have a really important role to play in the economy. And therefore, we have to take accessibility really seriously. So, that's a key thing for us. Our website, we have four websites, really. They're all connected. You'll be familiar with some of them. Obviously, there's revenue.ie. Hanging off that, we have LPT, lovely property tax, which I'm sure you've all loved. So that is kind of a separate website, but it's connected. We have My Account, which is essentially our PAYE website for PAYE people, most people in this room. And then we have ROS, Revenue Online Service, which is our business taxes. That collects most of the money and also includes things like customs. We have an accessibility statement, and you can see it's saying that we're committed to making our websites accessible and in accordance with the accessibility of websites, European Union, piece, and the various regulations. But the reality is, we're only partially compliant. That's the reality. We're probably getting better, but we're only partially compliant. And that's a job for me to fix. We are subject, obviously, to review and audit by the NDA, and we had one in 2023. We scored 13th out of 145 websites surveyed. Now, we'd like to be a little bit higher than that. We'd like to be up nearer the top. And you can see there were various critical issues identified, and 222 of them. A lot of them kind of were repeats, and were flagged in multiple places. So that was 2023. These are the types of things that have been found. Form issues not being, or form errors not being identified, timeouts not being highlighted to people, you know, missing or irrelevant alt text in images. All trivial things, and you can see we fixed them all. So once they're highlighted, we'll fix them. And I think this is a key piece for us, that we see the NDA audits as really, really useful, because we want to up our game, and we have to up our game. We've just completed the 2024 audit, and we're hoping that that 13 might be up a little bit, that we'll improve. But I'm sure that there'll be other things picked up. We've hundreds and hundreds of pages on our websites. Like, it's not a small website, and as I say, there are 4 of them interconnected, and they're transactional, and that can make it more complex, because tax is complex, and that's one of the problems. But again, we'll work very closely with the NDA to up our game. It's a really important thing that we need to do. This is an area that the public service needs to consider. 1 in 5. Revenue has 7,000 staff. 20% of our staff have some form of disability, going on the statistical figures from the CSO. I regard it as a forgotten front, right? If our websites are complex, you should see our internal systems, okay? Our internal systems are pretty complicated. Lots of heavy-duty calculations in them, lots of reporting, graphs, all sorts of stuff. And we're now supporting a blend of in-office and home working. Okay, so we have people working at home. So how accessible are our line of business systems for our staff? And I think we need to look at that. We have reasonably modern systems, and we're modernizing them all the time. So we're in a good position to fix some of this stuff. But I would say that, you know, we're not great, and I would argue that most public service bodies are not great for their internal staff. And we want to open up, there's a whole aim of government to have 6% of civil servants working in the civil service who have disabilities. That's a target. So, you know, we're going to have to address this one. And you'll get all this stuff thrown at you. It's too expensive. We haven't got the budget. We haven't got the capability. We haven't got UX designers. We've very tight deadlines. The stuff we're doing is really complex. You know, we haven't got the IT skills. You know, we haven't got maybe clear business ownership. And in some ways, they're excuses. It doesn't get us off the hook. But they're the things that are thrown out. But they are real challenges. And I think we have to, as organizations, look at them and say, how are we going to address this? Because we can't ignore it. So what we've done in revenue is we've decided to go back to the start, and we're saying, well, can we build in accessibility from the outset? So we've developed what we call, it's a design system, a revenue design system. We've started to implement that about 2022. We started to build it. And as we're modernizing our new systems, we're building in accessibility at a widget level, down at a component level. So we're building up a library of components that we can reuse across our internal systems and our external systems. Because a lot of the time the screens are the same or they're very similar, so we can get reuse. And it's about building in that accessibility into the design, or into the widgets that we'll then use to roll out our systems. And it's all about educating our IT development people, our test people, and indeed our end users about accessibility and driving that forward. And it involves things like having people with disability, say with vision impairment, working on our test teams to test the stuff and give out to us when we haven't got it right until we get it right. So that's the revenue design system. It's at this component level, so it's down at, you know, a button does this, or a drop down should look like this, or a radio button does this. And we build them once. We use standard colors, contrast, typography. We standardize all of that, and you get one look and feel then across your systems. And it gives you other benefits as well. All of, you know, responsive design. So what type of gadget is somebody using to access your website? Is it a mobile phone, an iPad, or a desktop? So these are the types of things we're doing. We haven't finished, but we're on that journey. And it gives us this ability to have kind of accessibility at scale, because once we've got the widgets, the development teams can actually use them, and they can build out the systems, and they can be confident that the widgets they're using are at the standards. They still have responsibility to make sure the flow works. And as you can see, I didn't put the picture to back there. That's why some of the words are a bit shortened. I should have pushed that to back. But anyway, the development teams still have that responsibility, making sure that the user journey is properly mapped out, and that the accessibility attributes have been applied to the various screens. And the design system have ownership of that core piece and responsibility for maintaining that and adding new widgets to it. So that's kind of the journey we're on at the moment. And it gives us then this ability to try and champion accessibility within revenue, and that really highlight to people, look, this is the way we should be designing systems. It's not an add-on. This is part of the process. So as we're building out systems, be they public-facing or internal-facing, accessibility is part of what we do. It's the way we do things. And that's where we want to get to. Look, it's a challenge. We're always going to be under pressure. We've got budget pressures. We've all those other things that I mentioned. But this is worthwhile, and we're really committed to doing it. And it's about that internal communications piece as well, bringing your people along that journey with you, ensuring that you engage with people who have disabilities, get their view. We have to do that, get their view. Are our systems up to date? Are they giving you what you need? Have we any shortcomings in our systems? And promoting that whole idea of accessibility in our systems. So, you know, we get these other benefits. If we're building things with standard components, we get user familiarity. That cuts down training costs, enhanced usability, makes us more efficient, reduced learning curve. As we roll out a new system, they kind of know how it works because it looks like the last system. And improve trust and credibility as an organization. And ultimately, it's all about providing a better user experience for all of our users. So there are other benefits. And then finally, you know, we like to operate to standards, and there are standards around software quality. There's ISO 25000. We have a number of ISO accreditations in revenue on the IT side already. This is one we're looking at, and by having accessibility built in, it ticks that box in the middle there around usability, which is all about, you know, usability of the system. And by having accessibility as a core part of our design process and our build process, we can kind of tick off that box, which pushes us on that road if we want to go down for achieving that ISO standard. And then finally, this is like painting the Firth of Forth Bridge. I don't know if anyone's ever seen the Firth of Forth Bridge. It's a fabulous structure. It goes across the Firth of Forth up in Scotland, and they have to paint it. And when they finish, they have to start painting it again. As you get to one side, you go back and start again, because it takes whatever number of years to paint it. And in some ways, building systems and building in accessibility is a bit like that. I don't think we'll ever finish this, because technology is going to change, standards will change, legislation will change, but we just have to keep at this. But it has to become part of how we do things. And that's where we're kind of at the moment. We're not perfect by any means, but we are hopefully improving all the time, and that's really all we can do. As I say, you start painting again. We just go back to the start, or go back and get better and better and better. And that's really what we want to do. So that's revenue, high-level view. I hope it set some context for you. And thanks very much for your attention. Thank you.